Good afternoon, Mike.
How you doing?
Pretty
Nice
well,
to see
thank you.
again. Oh,
How's your spring break?
it was a lot, but it was good. It was good.
It was good.
Yeah. Lots of stuff going on though.
We'll start with the positive. What was good about it?
Well, it was good to have a break from school, I think, for a little bit, even though had some homework assignments over break, which was interesting. Lots of teachers telling us not to worry about homework over break, and then we have homework over break, but got to get the work done. So
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to take a week off while you're in school, I think. So, but yeah, it was good to have a break, have a little bit of time for myself, and just kind of relax.
Good. I'm glad you got to relax.
Yes.
Now, what was stressful about it?
I worked all the spring break. So right now I'm working part-time. So about 15, 20 hours a week. Just kind of something to do outside of school, make a little bit of money. But this week we had a workshop that we had to run. So that was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with about 15 or so youths, and kind of just teaching them valuable skills that they can use in the real world.
Yeah.
So organizing that whole event has been, and that's been a whole thing that's been on my plate for the past month, but actually having it happen and having to go do it's a whole different ballgame than just writing emails, right? So
Yeah.
that was a whole thing.
Yeah.
It went well though. Yeah. I think it went
Good.
well.
Good.
Yeah.
I noticed when you started to talk about like what you had to actually do and how many students
Mm-hmm.
you have to take care of, you took a deep breath.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, well, I think it's a good question. It's an interesting job. I like it a lot. It's a youth program director at a nonprofit, but I've never really worked with kids before.
Yeah.
At least not in this capacity. I've done like coaching stuff for sports and stuff like that, but fostering an environment where they can learn and that they're paying attention and they're learning real skills that are going to impact their lives. I think the pressure of actually having to do that kind of got to me. I know the night before, on Sunday night, I was kind of stressed out about it, feeling a little anxious about it for sure.
Yeah.
Just because these kids don't know better, and so they're going to trust what you tell them. And if you are leading them astray or telling them the wrong things, that could be detrimental, you know? So I think that's kind of where some of the stress came from.
Yeah. What is the toughest thing about trying to lead them in the right way?
That's a very good question. Well, I think there's a ton of tough things. Well, I think the first thing that stood out to me is framing yourself as a good leader.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to teach all these kids these skills, and it's kind of hard to teach someone those skills if you don't use them yourselves, or you don't know them yourselves. So I think that was definitely a part of it on Sunday, where I was questioning, am I qualified to talk about this stuff? Am I
Yeah.
going to be good to be able to go through this kind of stuff with them? And thankfully, as the week progressed, I realized, I was like, I know all this stuff, it's fine. So it worked itself out. I think that's part of it. My mind's blanking on the other stuff, but I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
It's just being comfortable to lead something like that.
When you are uncertain about like, the skills that you need to teach them, and you were not sure if you know them yourself, can you tell me one skill? Do you remember one skill you were uncertain about?
I don't know. I mean, we talked a lot this week about communication and how to present yourself in a professional environment. I think that, it's not something that it's not that it was stuff that I feel like that I'm incompetent in or that I'm not able to do. But I think it's like if your car broke down and someone asked you to change your tire and they were watching you change your tire, you know how to change a tire, but being able to do it with someone watching you, and then they're also learning off you and taking notes and doing all these things, it's like the pressure can kind of get to you sometimes. But
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I meant more was.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. So is there anything else that was stressful about your spring break?
Yeah, well, with that, I mean, sticking on that topic, that's all fresh in my mind. We had guest speakers come in. We had Dr. Parnell Ryan come in, which was pretty awesome, and break the fourth wall. But he came in and he spoke, and it was really, really good for them to come and hear him. But we had a lot of speakers what was it? We had 2 speakers who canceled outright, who just didn't show up. And then we had 1 speaker who was supposed to go for 2 hours, and they only went for 1 hour. So that was a whole thing where they were supposed to go do something for us, and then they weren't actually able to fulfill what they said we were going to do, and we kind of had to pivot really fast and kind of figure out what we're supposed to do to fill the rest of that time. So that was it's a little hectic, but we figured it out.
How did you feel in that hectic moment?
Abandoned. I mean, it was a weird week in total. We were talking earlier, so my boss was supposed to be there for all 4 days to kind of just be a safety net, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I've never done anything like this before, and she's done a lot of stuff like this in the past. So she was supposed to be there. Unfortunately, she wasn't. She had a medical emergency in her family, so she had to leave. So, yeah, I just felt, I guess, abandoned is the best word. I think, honestly, it's just like I'm on my own. I have to figure this stuff out now. Even though we had volunteers and there was other people there too, but yeah, just abandoned.
Abandoned. Has there ever been another time in your life where you felt abandoned?
No.
Wow.
I don't think so. Well, it's not that I can think about. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think I felt alone before, but abandoned, I think is it was a new experience.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
So that must be fresh and raw to you.
Yeah, it was interesting. It taught me a lot about myself.
Huh. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, I mean,
What did it teach you about yourself?
yeah, well, I think the first thing, when these people were, like, I got one call half an hour before the guy was supposed to present, and he answered the phone. Hey, man, how you doing? Hey, Mike, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm sick. And the first thing I was like, well, why didn't you text me last night or something? I could have prepared something, or call me earlier. And then my immediate reaction was to get kind of angry at first and go, well, why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you do this? And then immediately afterwards, I realized, well, he's not going to do it now, but it still has to be done. Who's going to do it? I'm the only person here, so I have to do it.
Yeah.
So immediately switching into action mode. So I think that was, I honestly, looking, like, it was cool. It sucked in the moment, but looking back on it, that I was able to kind of just, okay, I got it, don't worry.
Yeah.
And kind of just figuring that out by myself. It was awesome. And that's what I mean, like, teaching myself. Again, it's something that I'm not necessarily comfortable doing or I've done before, but
Right.
Just knowing that I have the competency to pivot and adapt in the situation in half an hour and then go give a 2-hour presentation, I think was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that showed adaptability on your part.
Yeah.
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 So after feeling abandonment and then after successfully navigating that situation, how did that make you feel after?
Yeah. So yeah, I told one of our volunteers this, and so I've worked a bunch of different jobs. This was the first job where I've ever gone home from smiling. And like, was it, if you're working like a minimum wage, like little college job, or you go home and you're like, oh, my boss told me to do this, and you're not going to be happy working at McDonald's or something, when you go home. Or at least I wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Some people are, but I don't think I would be. But I remember I went home from work that day and I was like, I really just figured that all out. Like that was pretty cool. I just did all that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was rewarding. And again, it was like I've presented in front of hundreds of people before, but not for that long and not that intimately. Like talking on a stage, just reading things at people, where this was 2 hours on the fly, talking to and interacting on a one-on-one, if not a 1-in-15 basis with all these kids, and it was a really cool experience.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, no, it was cool looking back on it. Well, in the moment, it sucked. But looking back on it, there's a lot that I learned about everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That shows flexibility on your part.
Yeah.
So, was there any other stressors in your spring break?
Yeah, well, there was a bunch. So I had to figure out, I'm getting a new apartment soon, so signing the lease and figuring out all those details. That was the thing that was going on over spring break, and that was the whole thing, because the hours of this camp that we were running were the same hours that the leasing office was open, so trying to balance that was definitely a challenge. And yeah, there was also a bunch of personal stuff in my life going on, where my godmother's son passed away from an overdose. My mom's childhood best friend also passed away from cancer, so stuff like that going on too. Yeah, it's a weird week.
Were you able to communicate with your mom regarding her losing her best
Yeah,
friend?
yeah. Me and her had a chat about it. Thankfully, Billy, she's a devout Christian. Um, they were able to talk on the phone for a while before and kind of say their goodbyes and do all that kind of stuff, which helped her. But they're also moving down here right now. My mom and my dad are moving to Texas right now, so they're dealing with that, and then also this loss is taking a toll on them a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. How do you think she's handling it all in all?
I think a lot of it's her faith.
Yeah.
She's a pretty devout Christian, and she turns to a lot of that kind of spiritual side when she's dealing with stuff like this. And I think dealing with the loss of someone isn't as hard when you understand that they're okay with it. I think you can have the personal side of it where you're gonna miss them, and you cherish your time with them and all that. I think that's human, but
Right.
I think when you see someone who's ready to go and they've made their peace with it and they're okay with it, and if they know it's their time to go back to go home, I
Yeah.
guess, it changes things. I think it changes how you think about it as a
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. It sounds like your mom is a woman of great faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's had an interesting life story, but it's turned her to God a lot of times. So.
And how does your mom's clear faith in God influence and impact you?
Yeah, well, I think it shows me, it's kind of what we were talking about earlier, outside of this session. It gives me the blueprint, I think. I think when you grow up, you see your parents as perfect people.
Mm-hmm.
I think kids I think it's natural for kids to almost look at their parents like they're gods and like they're perfect entities. I think as you grow up, you realize your parents are human, and they're not perfect. No one's perfect. So I think seeing someone who you idolize growing up have to turn to God for help through things has kind of shown me like that's a way to deal with stuff. That's a way to fix your life or improve your life, is to kind of look outside yourself, this earth, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Has there been a stressful time in your life where you had to actually turn to God like your mom does in stressful times?
Yeah, so when I was in college, it was my beginning of senior year. I got really sick. It was like the flu early, I think it was COVID or something. But I actually got long COVID from it or something like that. I mean, there was not ever a formal diagnosis for it, but it had this weird effect on me where I'd get heart palpitations and just weird pains in my body. I think I went to the emergency room 8 times in 4 months or something like that. And afterwards I'd walk in and they'd say, "Oh, there's Mike again." There's Mike again, he's back. And there was one night I remember where I was at my girlfriend's dance recital actually, and we were watching that. My entire left arm went numb, fingers started tingling, really sharp pain in my chest on my left side, and I was like, "Oh, I'm having a heart attack or something." Which was a weird feeling as a 22-year. I was 23 at that. As a 23-year-old, or no, I was 22. As a 22-year-old, having that feeling of like I'm having a heart attack, like I might die. I didn't have a heart attack. But that's what I felt. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And with all the heart palpitation stuff, it probably didn't help that I've looked up like heart attack symptomology and what that looks like, and then I have all these things that are matching, and I'm like, okay. So I remember I got in the car, sped over to the emergency room, and the entire time just asking God to help me and give me the strength to push through it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a weird night.
Yeah. That sounds like real dramatic and even like potentially traumatizing.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just what my life was for about a year and a half, was that having to deal with that kind of stuff. Which is weird. I stopped hanging out with friends because I didn't want to go out because I had these weird chest palpitations, these heart palpitations.
Yeah.
And then I would go to a doctor or something, and they would tell me your vitals are all completely fine. Do X-rays, your heart looks fine. Not really getting any answers, but then still kind of dealing with this weird affliction.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was something that definitely strengthened my faith.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Can
It was
imagine.
a weird time in my life, but yeah.
And were you playing rugby at this time as well?
No.
Okay. Rugby was in college, and this was in high school.
Lacrosse.
Oh, I mean, that's what I meant. Yeah. So
No, you're fine.
lacrosse. So lacrosse was in college.
That was early college.
Early
yeah.
college.
Yeah, this was senior year.
Senior
Dealing with
year.
all this stuff.
Were you playing any sports at this time?
Golf a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, no sports. Yeah, it was weird. And then one day it just kind of went away.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Why? How did it go away?
I couldn't tell you. I didn't even really know what it was, but yeah, I mean, the only time I ever got an answer from a doctor was I went to a cardiologist, and they did a stress test where you run on a treadmill uphill for 10 minutes, and they measure your heart rate and all the EKG stuff while you're doing it. And he pulled me aside afterwards, like pushed his nurse out of the room, and he's like, I couldn't find anything wrong with you. He's like, your caffeine intake's a little bit high, but that's not causing this. He's like, I think it's long COVID. I can't give you an official diagnosis on it in the state of California right now, but that's what I think it is. He's like, you're going to be fine. It's going to go away eventually, but right now there's just nothing you can do about it. And then one day it just stopped.
When it stopped, how did you feel?
I can't even explain it to you. I don't know. I've never really stopped and thought about it. But it definitely was the most relieving feeling in my life.
Yeah.
Because beforehand, I mean, I was in a fraternity in college, very social, went to sporting events, loved being around other people. That's just who I am. And then that last year of college, which is like the last hurrahs and all the, I'm not gonna see these people for a while, I want to hang out with them. I just didn't get that experience because of this weird affliction. So
Right.
it just kind of felt like I got my life back, if that makes sense. It was a very profound feeling.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there some of these things where you think we were thankful?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I said, it's like I got my life back.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a huge thing because I still had it kind of going into grad school a little bit and starting at DBU. And I remember I always thought to myself, I don't know how I'm going to do 2.5 years at a program with all the stress of being in a master's program and working and all this stuff. That's another reason why I waited so long to get a job in Texas, was because I didn't feel like I could work. I didn't feel like I could interact with people and do the things I wanted to do. So it was the most relieving thing for that to go away.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like through this affliction, you were able to turn to God, lean in faith, and not only did it cause like stress physically, but it caused stress like socially and therefore, of course, emotionally and mentally.
Yeah. And there's things that I realized I didn't even think about happening before when you have a health condition or something, but the impact it has on the people around you.
Yeah.
Like that night I went to the hospital and I was like convinced that I was having a heart attack. I was with my girlfriend's mom, her roommates, and her roommate's parents. We were all at dinner, and that's when I was like that's when I made the call to leave. It was when we were all at dinner together. So they're all, where's Mike going? Where's he going? Going to the emergency room? You think he's having a heart attack? And then getting texts on my phone while I'm there. We hope you're okay. Oh, yeah. And then like one of her roommates' dads texted me and he's like, "What are you doing, man? I could have driven you to the emergency room. Why would you drive right now?" So that was also interesting, but I don't want to be a burden on people. So not having to deal with that anymore. Again, it's just the most relieving thing.
Yeah. Well, Mike, yeah, that fire of affliction has really strengthened your character. I could see it, and I'm so thankful that you are well and alive, and you're in this program right now.
Too,
So, yeah,
me too.
appreciate your resilience. You got a story to tell, and
Yeah.
you're already influencing the lives of many young people. So,
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Keep it up,
yeah,
and looking forward to interviewing you some more.
yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely,
Appreciate
Mike.
it. Awesome. All right.